Hello everyone, and welcome. Well, we finally got a half decent day. They're calling for sun and cloud, but they're not calling for any rain. We're gonna hope that they're not lying. I brought out the new tent. I'm gonna be setting it up. And I brought some canvas waterproof spray. I want to spray it. And we're gonna spend the night. One of the drawbacks to camping in a popular spot, you get people that leave garbage around. Now this, they've got a nail driven into this tree and a Ziploc bag with water in it. Why leave that hanging in a tree? Anybody with a little bit of common sense will know that if the sun hits this in just the right way and reflects on the proper area, you're gonna start a fire. People that do stuff like this should not be allowed to go camping. So I guess I'm going to be taking this when I leave. There's a few other little pieces I found. There's a paper plate that just blew by down the trail. I'm going to go pick that up. And there's a little bit of garbage in the fire pit. Before I leave, I'll make sure that this place is cleaner than it was when I got here. I'll pick up whatever I see as I go and take it all with me when I leave. So as you saw, I'm in a nice field. There's usually during the summer, there's quite a few people that come out here with their campers and they set up either right over there or just over on this side. It's very hard to camp here in the summer. 9 times out of 10 you're going to show up and there's going to be a camper here. There's a few other spots not far from here that I know of that they're nice spots to camp, but again, we're close to the highway. We're not very far into this gravel road, so a lot of people hit up these early spots. So right in here is where I want the tent. And I'm going to try and line it up so that the wood stove is right over this gravel here, not in the grass. Now let me start setting up this tent. Very nice solid pole. I like that it clips together very well. I just wish that at one end or the other they would have added a couple of extra adjustments. Just in case you happen to be setting up on a ground that's got a hole in the center or a little hump in the center, so you can adjust the pole better. But it's what we got. We'll make do with it. It'll be okay with just a straight pole. There's a strap here that's connected to both ends of the tent that coincide with one of the tie outs or the pegging points. So if I peg this here, now when I go to the other end, I pull that strap tight and peg that in, and that's the exact width of the tent. now I go and I stake the back two and the front two, and then I can stand the tent up. Now that everything is staked, I can open one of the doors and stand up the tent and then continue to stake the rest. Well, now it's somewhat standing. I'm going to go around and finish staking it out and stake out the guy lines, and then I'll bring you back. Now I've tightened up all the guy lines all the way around, pulled the tent as taut as I could get it. This pulls this part of the tent just enough. It gives me a little bit of extra room in there, not a lot. It also helps if there's a lot of wind. This will keep the tent tight. So I've got 2 cans of this Woods canvas waterproofing spray with the intentions of covering this whole tent. It says it's waterproof when you buy it. Personally, I'd rather be safe than sorry. I'm going to give it a good spray, and then I won't worry about it. So for starters, I'm going to open the door just so I can get a little closer to the top here. So apparently 2 cans wasn't enough. But as soon as I realized I wasn't going to have enough, I went all around the tent and I did all the seams, so they are well covered. And then I continued spraying my way down the panels up to the guy lines, all the way around the tent. This panel I was able to get down a little further, and then the can ran out. So with any luck, when I go home tomorrow, I'll pick up a couple more cans, and hopefully we'll get another nice weekend where I can spray the rest of it. If not, that's going to have to do for this winter. And probably next spring, once the snow is gone and the weather warms up, I'll buy a few cans and I'll give it a good spray and leave it up for a day or two before I put it away. Now there's one more neat feature that I like with this tent, especially at this time of year where it's not really cold. It's cool, but it's not really cold. Let's open the doors. Now, we pull out the stakes. A handy dandy stick that I sharpened at the end. There's a grommet here that I can put the stick through and stand it up. And I've pre-tied lines on this. Loop it over the top. put in my steak. Then if I snug that up, it gives me a nice little porch area. So now that the tent's all set up, this strap is on a buckle at that end. So I can undo the buckle, leave the strap over there, set up for the night. And before I take the tent down tomorrow, tie the buckle back in, and the next time I set it up, I'll know exactly how far apart to put it. So here is one problem that I see. I like the idea that this rolls down, but at the same time, if I've got it open with the stove going, the snow and the rain is all going to pool here. And it'll be stuck in here. I may poke a tiny hole here. I'll think about it. But I might poke a tiny hole here and in each corner so that any water or snow that does pool in here, the heat from the stove will melt it and it'll still drip on the outside of the tent. Because if it stays up on this canvas in here, it will eventually soak through. But if I put a hole in the flap itself, in either corner, and maybe one in the center, maybe then the water will just flow through. Because water will always find the path of least resistance. So if there's already a tiny hole there and there, that's where the water should go, is through that hole and on the outside and just run right down. Maybe I'll see how it reacts the first time it gets rained on and decide from there. Time for a nice cold downtown brown. Oh, I've already gathered a little bit of firewood for the outside fire, and I knew I was going to be late coming in. I knew it was going to be a weird setup, and it's been raining for the last 3 days. So I cheated and I brought a bag of pre-cut hardwood to use in the stove tonight. Now my only decision is, do I cook supper in here or do I cook supper on the outside fire? But what are the options that this little awning gives us? Well, if it's raining hard, keep the tent closed. If it's a light drizzle, it gives me the option of raising this awning. Now, I would probably do it with shorter sticks to keep the front a little bit lower, or at least a shorter stick on one side so that it angles it down for the water to all run off. But in a light drizzle, everything in here would stay dry. The awning would keep me dry. I could move my chair a little more forward, or I could move it back. And I think if Anne and I are both here, then it would be pointless, because with the two cots in here, with me by myself, I can have my cot at the back. I can actually have this chair and pull it way back in. But I think when I come alone in the winter, I'll be bringing, not this chair, I'll bring the old chairs, because it's a little bit lower and it's got the lower back, which would give me more room in here when the tent is pegged down. I will be pegging it back down later. I wanted to try this awning and see what it was like. But I could even come way out here. If it was a little cooler, I could have a fire going in the stove, and I would have a little bit of heat from the stove keeping me warm. It's not something I'll use all the time. I don't even think I'll use it all that often. But it's nice to know that the option is there. I was going to bring the low back chair the first time because I kind of figured the high back chair would be too high in here. But then again, when I'm by myself, I brought it so that I can try it. Tonight, once I close this down, I'll have a better idea of what's going to happen, which chair I'm going to be bringing this winter. Although I am hoping I can bring this one because it is way more comfortable. And if I really want space, I can leave the cot at home. Just bring the chair, and if I put the pillow on this thing, yeah, I would have absolutely no problem spending the night sleeping in the chair. Wouldn't be the first time I slept in a chair. Yes, the cot is way more comfortable, but I could see myself putting a tarp under the chair, standing in my sleeping bag and sitting down, and nice and warm. I might actually do that for a video once, just for fun. I've got my bed all set up, and the whole decision, cook inside, cook outside, cook inside, cook outside, is because I want to be able to see the campfire. I want to be able to sit by the campfire tonight, but I also want to be able to sit by the stove for a little while. Having the canopy raised like it is gives me an option. I can cook in here, and I'm going to give you a twist and show you that I can still see the outside fire. So I can sit cooking in here and still see the campfire. So that's going to be fantastic. Okay, I may like this canopy more than I thought. Even in the winter. Have it up during the day, I can see my campfire. All right. We'll see how this works. Interesting. As I was cutting up the firewood, I came across this nice little Y branch. And I thought, I better keep that. I might find a use for it. Well, I cut a stake into the end of it, just a point, so that I can try and drive it into the ground. It doesn't have to be super sturdy. So I've gone down to the river, gotten a bucket of water. That way I've got it close at hand in case the fire spreads tonight. I don't think it will. It's a well-used fire pit. It should be fine. But we all know I'm a big fan of these Dollarama buckets. But because they're collapsible, quite often if you just leave them sit on the ground like that, if they get a little, I don't know, of the wrong wind, anything, they tend to collapse in on themselves a little bit. So by having this Y branch, I can put the handle over the Y branch and that should keep the lid of the bucket up. I'll have a full bucket of water all night long. So here's something that I've used a handful of times. It's called the pull start fire. You tie the green string around something that's a little heavy and solid. You build your fire around this thing, and then you give the red string a sharp tug. When you do, there's a chemical reaction inside, and it lights. No matches, windproof up to 200 miles per hour. There's no way I can test that. Lights wet wood. Well, it's been raining for 3 days. All the wood that's here is wet on the outside. The inside's fairly dry, but the outside's wet. And it burns for 30 minutes. So I'm going to set this up and a little bit later I'll come out, pull the string and light the fire. I don't want to light it too soon. I've only got a little bit of firewood and I'm kind of hoping to have a little bit of a campfire when it's dark out. It's 5:30 now. It usually gets dark around 7 or so. It's 10 after 6. I'm gonna have to start cooking dinner soon. I'm gonna take one of my fire lighters that I made. If I can get it out of here. There we go. Now, I'm just going to break that open and expose some fine fibers. I'm going to place it on this piece of bark. Before leaving the house, pre-washed a couple of potatoes. And the lid for my bowl is going to make for an excellent cutting board. Oh well, I wanted to grab my VPS knife that I usually carry on my belt. It's in my pack. I didn't bother wearing it because I knew I was going to be setting up the tent and everything, and I wouldn't really need the knife right now. But that's okay, because we have the Swiss Army knife. It'll do just as well. There. Now we're going to put the lid on that. Get it over the stove. And let that start to boil. While we wait for that, let's go pull on that string and see if the fire lights. Are we all ready? Here's our red string. Potatoes are almost done. We're going to drop in the steamer tray. We're going to add in the asparagus. While trying not to touch the stovepipe because it's hot. Look at that. That is going to be delicious. We are going to put the frying pan on here. I brought just a tiny little bottle of sesame oil. I bought a package of Vito brand Italian pork schnitzel. Here's the plan. Remove the lid. We're going to take all the asparagus out of here. Now I'm going to go over by the fire pit and dump out all that water. Dump those potatoes onto my plate. And I brought a small chunk of garlic butter. That is cooked, so I'll get that off the stove. Get a couple of thin little slivers of that garlic butter. Oh, look at that. Mm. Perfect. Now we'll grab a piece of that nicely done schnitzel. Mm. Oh, that's amazing. Been a great day so far. Supper was amazing. I've got the stove damped down a little bit so that it's not burning quite so strong, quite so hot. Because as soon as I brought the front of the tent down and staked it back where it goes and closed the doors, oh boy, it got warm in here. I think it's going to do the trick. Especially when I'm by myself. Oh my God, the amount of space I have in here is unbelievable. When I get changed for bed, I can actually stand. As long as I stay right close to the pole here, I can stand. And I'm 6 feet tall, so I'm okay with that. I have the feeling it's going to be a comfortable night. It's still early, but it's pretty dark out there. It's nice and cozy in here. I think I'm going to turn on some music. And who knows, I may carve a little, I may not. I haven't decided. I might just sit here and read my book for a little while. So I'm going to go and enjoy my evening. And we'll see you guys in the morning. Morning, everyone. Oh, we're done. I've got the water on the stove. I just put it on there a couple minutes ago and started grinding the coffee, so it won't be ready for a while yet. I've ground enough coffee. Gonna get the pot ready. Perfect. And I move that before I kick it over. Put it over here where it'll be safer. So, last night was a fantastic night. Nice and warm in here. Very comfortable. Sleeping up on the cot. Couldn't ask for better. I think it's going to be really nice in the winter. It'll be a lot more comfortable than that iron wall tent that I have, because that one is just, it's great, but I'm getting older and it's not as easy for me to be crawling around on my hands and knees in a tent. Especially first thing in the morning, being teepee style, yeah, you pretty well have to crawl and reach down to get the zipper. And with this one, I just grab the upper zipper, bring it down, step out of the tent, pull it back up. I don't have to crawl down to get it. Makes a big difference. Oh, excuse me. For now, I'm just going to wait for this water to boil, have my breakfast, and I'll bring you back when it's coffee time. Time for that first cup. Lid on that. So I got up this morning, and when I looked around, I don't see any frost anywhere. But I just happened to walk past that Dollarama bucket full of water that I put out last night. There's just a thin layer of ice on it. So it's cool enough. Oh well, I'm comfortable. Oh, it's nice here, sitting by the stove. But now, I'm gonna let this burn down a little bit more. Then I'm gonna take this all down, pack up, get ready to head home. I want to thank you all for coming along. Always wonderful having your company. It gives me somebody to talk to other than just a camera. So if you liked what you saw, go ahead and hit the like button. If you want to see more of it, hit the subscribe button. If you're going to do that, you may as well hit the notification bell. It'll put a drop-down menu. In that menu, select all. And that'll let you know whenever we put out a new video. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one.